Subnautica 2 has finally showed us some gameplay, and even though it was just a few glimpses, there's quite a bit of stuff to talk about. And the first thing I want to cover today is the monsters. As we all know, monsters and underwater creatures are very important to Subnautica. They kind of make the game what it is, or many of the things it is, but they are very important. So let's have a look at the monsters they have shown to us and what this could mean for the game. The first one we see here is basically the beginner monster, I would say, or one of the entities which will probably attack you early on. Why do I think that? Because we can see here that the monster is basically waiting quite a bit before it even reacts to you, so you can get pretty close. And even if it sees you, it only goes into some sort of warning mode, right? It opens up the fins, it growls at you, and it's not immediately attacking. So I assume this is the way of the monster telling you, hey, piss off, you are a little bit too close. So you still might have some chance to react before it then says, okay, I've enough of your bullshit, I will now attack. And those are like signs of early enemies or creatures which are not necessarily good for you, but they are also not hunting you down. They are not immediately attack you when they see you, and they give you some chance to react, which would make sense in areas which are very early on, like the shallows in the first one. And also, like from what we have seen from this particular creature, because it was also in some of early screenshots, it was always in very well lit and very colorful areas, which again gives you an idea at least of this might be an early monster. But when it attacks, and this is the interesting part, we can see it here in this very short clip, it retracts the fins, goes into some sort of ram mode, and attacks you and charges you directly. And you can dodge that, and it can actually collide with the surrounding area. And that's just, whoa! Like, keep in mind, if you have played Subnautica or Subnautica Below Zero, you kind of know how much, like, those entities in the game do not respect physics. Like, especially in the early access version of the game, we had so many Reapers just being in some little mountain, or they're clipping through whole areas. They're clipping through your base and attack you in your base or even in your vehicle. And even in the full version of the game, which thankfully got patched quite a bit, so it doesn't really happen that much anymore, they still don't really respect the physics, and we still have like smaller fish more often or not ending up in your base and just swimming in air. Like, it's hilarious when that happens. But physics was definitely not the strongest part of this game, and that we actually see here a monster not just respecting the boundaries of its surroundings, but actually interacting with it. It's kind of crazy. Because keep in mind, in the first one, they had an idea regarding this whole thing, right? So if you have not played the earlier betas, in the earlier betas you could actually do terraforming in the game. You could actually change the ground a little bit and some stone and all that. Now the thing is, as I have explained in the previous video, they never really utilized it too much because A, it just tanked the performance of the game, which was a huge issue, and they could never get that under control. And then they also just thought, for what? Why are we doing this exactly? This doesn't do anything. You are literally just moving a little bit sand from A to B, especially for the performance we are losing. This is not worth it. And this is why they have removed it in the end, right? So maybe, and I said this before, I'm really hoping that we are now getting more physical interactions with the gaming world, and that there might be some destruction, that there might be caves where you try to hide in, and depending on how big the Leviathan is, which is attacking you, that they might even get somehow into the cave by destroying the outer layer or something like that. Like, there are tons of cool possibilities here, and I'm hoping it's more than just this little animation, but we will see about that. Speaking about Leviathans, they also showed us a very early brief moment at least one of the Leviathans. Not necessarily the first one, but they showed us this. And am I am I going crazy here? Does this look like the squid shark from Below Zero? Because it does, but just as a Leviathan. Now, with that said, keep in mind, this doesn't even have textures. It doesn't have sounds. We don't see how it moves, right? It could be a really creepy Leviathan, which we will all fear and hate. But right now, at least on the first glimpse, it reminds me a bit of the Squid Shark. And I will say, I didn't necessarily like the Squid Shark too much from a design perspective, because in Below Zero, they used like a lot of fish we would find on our planet and then spliced it a bit with alien DNA and called it a day. I definitely like the more outlandish look of most of the Subnautica underwater beings, right? So I would love to go back to that instead of the more, hey, you might have seen this on planet Earth in some form kind of deal they did in Below Zero. But again, this is a super early look, so this doesn't really matter, but it still looks cool. I also know that there was a shot of like a brief moment where we could see like some entity in the back of the video, and I first thought, you can see it right here, I first thought, oh, this is like another fish. I think it's actually an underwater vehicle, which just have fins to move forward or something like that to make it more natural. Don't really know, it's hard to tell, but it doesn't really look like a normal fish thingy which would swim around. It looks more like a vehicle. But first glance, looks great. Looking forward to it. And I cannot wait to talk about the other things in the foreseeable future. So make sure, if you enjoyed this video, to leave a like. And also, if you're new to the channel, I would appreciate if you might consider to subscribe. With that said, thanks so much for watching, stay safe, and see you next time. Bye bye.